I've dedicated my life to animal care, and I've seen a lot as a veterinarian, from common ailments to rare diseases. But what's looming on the horizon now has me truly worried. It's a threat unlike any I've encountered before, and it demands our immediate attention. The New World screwworm, a tiny fly, almost deceptively small, with a bite that carries devastating consequences, is making a comeback. After being eradicated from the United States, its resurgence is a serious cause for alarm. These aren't ordinary flies buzzing around. They're flesh eaters, specialized parasites with a gruesome appetite. They represent a danger that goes far beyond a simple nuisance, and they're relentlessly moving north, steadily advancing and dangerously close to the U.S. border. Their proximity poses an imminent risk to our agriculture, our pets, and even ourselves. This is a real and present threat to animals, especially livestock, who are particularly vulnerable to screwworm infestations. It's a threat to farmers, ranchers, and everyone involved in animal husbandry, potentially devastating their livelihoods. And it's a threat to even people and our beloved pets. No one is immune to the potential dangers these parasites pose. You might wonder, with a sense of disbelief, how bad can a fly really be? It's just a fly, right? The answer is a single word: catastrophic. The potential impact of a widespread screwworm infestation is almost unimaginable. Screwworms lay their eggs in any open wound, no matter how seemingly insignificant or small, on animals, livestock, or even humans. Any break in the skin is an invitation for these parasites. Once hatched, the larvae begin to eat living flesh, consuming tissue and causing extensive damage. They burrow deep into the wound, causing intense agony and suffering for the host. This leads to severe infection, and often results in death if the infestation is left untreated. It's a living nightmare for animals, a constant source of pain and distress. And it's a devastating disaster for those who dedicate their lives to caring for them, both emotionally and financially. We successfully eradicated this pest from the United States decades ago through dedicated efforts and innovative strategies. But now, alarmingly, it's back at our doorstep, threatening to undo all of our hard work. It's critically important to understand that it's not just livestock at risk. Our beloved pets and even people are vulnerable too, making this a widespread public health concern. Even a simple scratch, a seemingly harmless cut, can quickly become an entry point for these flesh-eating parasites. This is a direct and immediate threat to our livestock industry, our food supply chain, and the overall health and well-being of our communities. We simply cannot afford to ignore this growing threat. The front line of this potential invasion is now situated in southern Mexico, making it much closer to us than ever before. Alarming cases are popping up in regions where we haven't seen screwworms in decades, indicating a dangerous expansion of their territory. This serves as a critical wake-up call for everyone, from government officials and policymakers who need to allocate resources and implement preventative measures, to individual pet owners and families who need to be aware of the risks and take necessary precautions. The time to act decisively is now, without any further delay, before this devastating pest gains a foothold and reaches American soil. We must remain vigilant, informed, and work together collaboratively, strengthening border security and intensifying pest control efforts to effectively stop this invasion and protect our animals, our communities, and our way of life. A nasty piece of work. The New World screwworm literally means man-eater. Unlike other flies, screwworms target living tissue, not dead flesh. The female fly seeks out any open wound, on livestock, wildlife, pets, or people. She lays hundreds of eggs in a neat row. Within a day, the eggs hatch into maggots with sharp mouth hooks. These larvae burrow into living flesh, causing immense pain and rapidly expanding wounds. The smell of the wound attracts even more flies, compounding the infestation. A small wound can become a massive, festering crater filled with hundreds of larvae. Untreated, the animal suffers and often dies. After feeding, the larvae drop to the ground, pupate, and emerge as adult flies, ready to repeat the cycle. A single female can travel miles, spreading the threat quickly. This is what makes screwworms so dangerous and hard to control. For years, the dense and formidable Darien Gap, a natural barrier of rainforest and swampland, served as an unintentional but effective line of defense, keeping screwworms at bay. This isolated region between Panama and Colombia presented a significant obstacle to the pest's northward expansion. To further bolster this natural defense, we implemented a strategic program, releasing sterile flies in the area. The goal was to disrupt the screwworm's reproductive cycle and prevent the pest from successfully moving north, safeguarding regions beyond the gap. But now, the situation has changed dramatically. Screwworms have been found far north of that line, indicating a significant shift in their distribution and posing a renewed threat to livestock and wildlife in previously unaffected areas. In Costa Rica, a nation that had previously been considered relatively safe from this particular pest, and alarmingly, in Mexico. This marks a concerning development, as the screwworm's presence in Mexico brings the threat much closer to our own borders. These outbreaks aren't random occurrences. They are not isolated incidents. Instead, they appear to follow established human migration routes, suggesting a direct link between human movement and the spread of the screwworm. Migrants and their animals, often traveling long distances under challenging conditions, can unknowingly carry infested wounds for hundreds of miles, acting as unwitting vectors for the spread of this devastating parasite. When larvae mature, detach from the host, and drop off into the environment, they can effectively start new populations and establish a foothold in new places, expanding the screwworm's range and increasing the risk of infestation. The recent case of a migrant's dog found to be infested with screwworms in southern Mexico serves as a stark reminder of this risk. It is a major breach in our defenses, highlighting the vulnerability of our current strategies. The threat is now significantly closer to the U.S. border, demanding immediate and decisive action. We're no longer dealing with a fixed geographical barrier like the Darien Gap. The threat is now mobile, moving along complex and dynamic human pathways. Vigilance and monitoring are needed all along these routes, requiring a more comprehensive and adaptable approach. We need to expand our surveillance efforts beyond just the border itself, implementing monitoring strategies further inland. This requires strengthened cooperation with Mexico and Central American nations, fostering a collaborative approach to address this shared threat. The migrant route has effectively become a biological pathway, facilitating the transmission of this dangerous pest across borders. We must adapt our strategies and responses to this new reality, developing innovative solutions to effectively stop the spread of these flies and protect vulnerable populations. It's one thing to talk about screwworms in abstract terms, to read about them in textbooks or scientific papers, but it's another thing entirely to witness their devastation firsthand, to truly grasp the horrifying reality they inflict. Imagine a rancher, early one morning, finding a cow that seems a little off, a little listless. Upon closer inspection, a small cut, seemingly insignificant, has turned into a deep, festering hole, teeming with wriggling maggots. The animal is clearly in agony, its body trembling with pain and distress. The wound itself reeks with the unmistakable putrid odor of decaying flesh and parasitic infestation. Treatment is grueling, a long and arduous process for both the animal and the veterinarian. Every single maggot must be painstakingly pulled out, one by one, a truly unpleasant task. Then the wound must be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected to prevent further infection. And finally, a course of powerful antibiotics must be administered to combat any remaining bacteria. Sadly, despite the best efforts, many animals simply don't survive this ordeal. The infestation is too severe, the damage too extensive. In some cases, the kindest thing to do is to humanely put them down, ending their suffering. And it's crucial to remember that it's not just livestock that are at risk from these parasites. Humans, too, are vulnerable to screwworm infestations, and the consequences can be devastating. Consider the case of a tourist in Costa Rica, enjoying the natural beauty of the rainforest. He got a seemingly minor scratch on his leg while hiking through the jungle. But just days later, he discovered that his leg was horrifically infested with screwworm larvae, burrowing deep into his flesh. Fortunately, quick and decisive medical intervention managed to save him from further harm. But the potential for far worse damage was very real, a chilling reminder of the threat these parasites pose. And let's not forget our beloved pets, who are also incredibly vulnerable to screwworm infestations. Imagine a dog, happily traveling with its owner from South America. Upon arrival, it's discovered to have a severe screwworm infestation, a terrifying ordeal for both the animal and its owner. Along the way, unknowingly, it could have seeded new outbreaks, spreading this horrific parasite to new regions. Screwworms are indiscriminate. They will attack virtually any warm-blooded animal they can find. Every documented case serves as a stark reminder of the potential devastation these parasites can unleash. Every case is a testament to the immense pain, suffering, and economic damage that these flies can cause. If they manage to cross our border, breaching our defenses, we will face a gruesome and incredibly costly battle to contain and eradicate them. The threat is very real. It's not some distant possibility. And the potential consequences of a widespread screwworm infestation are nothing short of dire. We must act decisively, and we must act now before it's too late to prevent a full-blown crisis. Most Americans don't remember the screwworm, thanks to a historic eradication effort. Before the 1960s, screwworms devastated southern ranches, costing billions in today's dollars. Scientists Knipling and Bushland developed the sterile insect technique, releasing sterile male flies to break the breeding cycle. The program was a huge success. By 1966, screwworms were eradicated from the U.S. The effort expanded south, creating a permanent barrier in Panama. For decades, this defense held strong with millions of sterile flies released weekly. But now the system is breaking down. Flies have jumped the barrier with cases in Florida in 2016 and now in Costa Rica and Mexico. The pest we thought was gone is threatening to return. Our past victory is at risk. The threat is no longer contained far away. We must remember the lessons of history. Complacency is not an option. The fight isn't over. Why now? It's a perfect storm: climate change and human movement. Screwworms thrive in warm, humid conditions, and as temperatures rise, their range expands. Milder winters mean flies survive year-round in new areas. Extreme weather, like hurricanes, can carry flies far beyond their normal range. At the same time, increased migration and animal transport create new pathways for the pest. An infested animal can carry larvae hundreds of miles, starting new outbreaks. The combination of a warming climate and human movement accelerates the spread. Our connected world makes it easier for pests to travel. The screwworm is exploiting these changes. We need modern solutions for this modern threat. If screwworms re-establish in the U.S., the consequences would be catastrophic. Livestock industries in states like Texas and Florida would face disaster, huge costs, animal losses, and heartbreak. The economic impact would ripple through the food supply chain, raising prices and threatening exports. Trade restrictions could follow, hurting our agricultural economy. Wildlife would suffer too. Deer, elk, and other animals are defenseless against screwworms. An outbreak could cause massive die-offs and ecological damage. The hunting industry and rural traditions would be hit hard. Public health is at risk. Imagine worrying about a simple scrape on your pet or child. In countries where screwworms are endemic, daily life changes dramatically. The psychological toll is real. We're talking about protecting our economy, food security, wildlife, and families. The stakes couldn't be higher. We must act to prevent this disaster. What's being done? The sterile insect technique remains our main weapon. The USDA and partners run a unique facility in Panama, producing over 100 million sterile flies weekly. These are released to stop wild screwworms from breeding. With cases in Mexico, the response is ramping up. Surveillance and emergency releases are underway. The U.S. and Mexico are working closely, increasing inspections and quarantines. Funding is critical. Prevention costs far less than an outbreak. International cooperation is key, sharing information, training, and public awareness. Every report of a suspicious wound helps protect the continent. This is a race against time. We need teamwork and vigilance at every level. The fight is urgent but winnable. Here's the bottom line. The New World screwworm is closer than it's been in decades. We have a narrow window to act and reinforce our defenses. If we fail, the consequences for animals, our economy, and our health will be severe. We have the tools and knowledge, but we need the will and resources. Fully funding the sterile fly program and expanding surveillance is essential. Partnerships with Mexico and Central America are our first line of defense. This isn't just an agricultural issue. It affects pet owners, consumers, and wildlife lovers. Support our agencies and urge leaders to make this a priority. Public awareness is powerful. We must protect our animals, food supply,